The CEO looked at the old janitor and said coldly, "Pack your things. You're fired." The hallway went silent. Employees stopped typing. Workers quietly watched from their office doors. The old janitor didn't argue. He simply nodded, placed his cleaning badge on the desk, and walked out. But what no one knew was this: by the next morning, the entire company would be sold. And the person who bought it was the janitor they had just fired. Brightwave Technologies was a fast-growing tech company in Chicago. The building looked impressive: tall glass walls, modern offices, expensive conference rooms. Hundreds of employees walked through its doors. At the top was Daniel Carter, the CEO, only 42. He already had a reputation. He was brilliant, sharp, aggressive, and demanding. Investors loved him, but employees feared him. Daniel believed, if you're not perfect, you're replaceable. He expected everyone to move fast, work hard, never make mistakes. This attitude made the office tense. People spoke quietly when Daniel walked by. Managers avoided bringing him bad news. Even executives felt nervous during meetings. But there was one person Daniel barely noticed at all: an older janitor named Samuel Reed. Samuel worked the night shift. He cleaned offices after everyone left. He vacuumed carpets. He emptied trash bins. He wiped fingerprints off the glass walls. He mopped long hallways until they shined. Most employees never paid attention to him. To them, Samuel was just part of the background, invisible, but Samuel always greeted people kindly. Even when they ignored him, Samuel had worked in the building for 6 years. During that time, he quietly watched everything. He listened to conversations while cleaning late at night. He noticed which managers treated employees fairly. He saw which executives respected workers. And he also noticed which people treated others like they didn't matter. Samuel never complained. He simply observed. One evening, Daniel stayed late at the office. The company was preparing for a massive business deal. Millions of dollars were involved. Investors were demanding results. The pressure was enormous. Daniel had spent hours in meetings and phone calls. By the time he finally left his office, he was already frustrated. He walked quickly down the hallway while talking on his phone. His voice echoed across the floor. Suddenly, his shoes slid across the floor. The hallway had just been mopped. Daniel nearly fell. He caught himself on the wall just in time. His heart started pounding with anger. Standing nearby was Samuel, holding a mop. The yellow wet floor sign stood clearly beside him. But Daniel didn't notice it. All he felt was embarrassment. A few employees nearby had seen what happened, and Daniel hated looking foolish. He ended his phone call immediately. "What is this?" Daniel shouted. Samuel calmly replied, "I'm sorry, sir. I was just cleaning the hallway." Daniel pointed at the floor. "You could have caused a serious accident." Samuel gently pointed toward the warning sign. But Daniel wasn't interested in explanations. His pride had already taken control. "You know what?" Daniel snapped. "I'm tired of careless mistakes." Then he said the words that shocked everyone nearby. "You're fired." The hallway went silent. Two assistants standing nearby froze. Samuel looked at Daniel quietly. For a brief moment, it seemed like he might say something. But instead, he simply nodded. "All right, sir," Samuel said calmly. He placed his cleaning cart against the wall, removed his janitor badge, set it on a nearby desk, and slowly walked toward the elevator. No anger, no argument, no complaint, just quiet acceptance. The elevator doors closed behind him, and Samuel Reed disappeared. Daniel didn't think about it again. To him, Samuel was just a janitor. Someone easily replaced, someone unimportant. By the time Daniel drove home that night, he had already forgotten the incident. But the next morning, everything changed. When employees arrived at Brightwave, something felt strange. The office atmosphere was different. Executives were gathered in conference rooms. Lawyers walked through the hallways. Whispers spread quickly. People checked their phones nervously. Then suddenly an email appeared in every employee's inbox. The subject line read, "Urgent. Ownership change." Workers opened the message immediately. And what they saw shocked them. Brightwave Technologies had been sold overnight. The beer was an investment group called Reed Global Holdings. No one had heard of it before, but the deal was massive. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Employees stared at each other in confusion. Who was Reed Global? Why would someone buy the company so suddenly? And why did it happen overnight? At exactly 10 a.m., every employee was called into the main conference hall. The room quickly filled with hundreds of workers. Executives stood nervously near the front. Daniel stood beside them, trying to appear confident. But even he looked slightly confused. Then the main doors slowly opened. A man walked inside. He wore a clean dark suit. His hair was neatly combed. His shoes shined brightly. He walked calmly toward the front of the room, and suddenly people began whispering. Because they recognized him. It was Samuel, the janitor. Gasps spread across the room. Daniel stared in disbelief. Samuel stood beside the board members quietly. One of the lawyers stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "I would like to introduce the new majority owner of Brightwave Technologies." He paused, then continued, "Mr. Samuel Reed." The entire room erupted in shocked voices. Daniel looked completely stunned. Samuel began speaking calmly. "For the past 6 years," he said, "I worked in this building as a janitor." He looked around the room slowly. "While cleaning these offices, I learned a lot about this company. I watched how leaders treated employees. I saw how people handled pressure. I noticed who respected others and who didn't." Employees listened carefully. No one moved. Samuel continued, "Years ago, I sold a company. I founded. Since then, I have invested in businesses across the country. But before I invest in any company," he smiled slightly, "I like to observe it from the inside." The room grew even quieter. Samuel explained that he sometimes took simple jobs inside companies he wanted to study: security guard, receptionist, warehouse worker, or janitor, because those roles allowed him to see how people truly behaved when they thought no one important was watching. Samuel then looked directly at Daniel. "Last night," he said calmly, "you fired me." The room froze. Daniel swallowed nervously. Samuel continued, "And because of that moment," he paused, "I decided to complete the purchase of this company immediately." The room buzzed with whispers. But then Samuel said something unexpected. "Daniel," he said, "you still have your job." Everyone looked surprised. Samuel smiled slightly. "Because leadership is not about punishment, it's about learning." He stepped closer. "And yesterday you learned something important." He paused for a moment. "Never judge someone by their job title. Never underestimate someone because of their uniform." Over the following months, Brightwave changed dramatically. Samuel introduced new leadership values. Employees were treated with respect. Hard workers were recognized. Managers were trained to lead with empathy. The company culture improved. Productivity increased. Profits grew faster than ever before. And the story of the janitor who bought the company became legendary, because sometimes the quiet man cleaning the floor is the one who owns the entire building. If this story surprised you, comment respect everyone below. And remember this, you never truly know who someone is, so always treat people with kindness. Because one small moment of respect can change everything.